Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting episode of the Jada Mechanic Podcast. I'm sitting here with a fellow bearded brother, somebody that this is the first time getting to talk to him in this manner, but I've been following him for the last little while on social media. You know how we do. We kind of I want to highlight the guys that have got a platform on social media and have really putting themselves out there and showing them what to do. And I am with the one and only, the infamous, from way down in Texas, Fluffy the Mexicanik. Fluffy, how
Yes,
are you,
sir.
buddy?
I'm doing good, brother. I'm doing good.
It's good to see you, man. So I gotta ask the Fluffy thing. Are you Gabriel Iglesias fan?
No.
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 Oh, because see, that's where I kind of put the two and two together, and I thought he must know who Fluff is, because that's
Yeah. So the backstory behind that, when I was at Lincoln Tech, is one of the guys said I look like him.
Okay.
So I always went by the name Mexicanik, right?
Yeah. Right.
So after that, when I started YouTube, I was like, you know what? Fluffy Mexicanik. Let me combine the two, because
Uh-huh.
when I started at the dealer, there was multiple people in my name.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
everybody ends up with a nickname, so
Mm-hmm.
you know exactly who you're talking to or talking
Mm-hmm.
about. So I held Fluffy from tech school, and then I was like, a Mexicanik, yeah, let's combine the two, and that was the name. That
And it
was the
works
YouTube
for
name.
you. It works
Yep.
for you for sure. How big's your following on YouTube right now?
I just rolled over 85K. Yeah, so
That's
I'm
what I'm
I'm on there. That's
trying
where
to
I
hit.
live.
I'm trying to get up there. Yeah. So, and I first saw you on TikTok. I'll be truthfully
Yeah.
straight up. That's where I first saw you, and then it's like, and that's the beauty of thing. Like everybody, TikTok has its detractors, it has its haters. It's oh, you're selling your shit to China, but there's so many more people I've found on YouTube that I would have not even known because the algorithm didn't show them to me if it hadn't
Yep.
been for TikTok, and that's what I mean. So I'm blessed that I've had it, but so I saw you, and it kind of popped up because you work at a Nissan store, and
Yes.
I did a tenure at Nissan, and people have heard me talk. I hate that fucking brand. Like it just, you know.
I've
But
heard
you
you
like
say
it,
that.
yeah?
Yeah, I love it.
Really,
Like,
man.
I'm curious, like, why do you hate it?
So truthfully, um, I find the service information to be the most unfriendly to navigate that I've ever used in the dealer environments. The way they set up. And again, maybe it was never like I hit the ground running and I never really got comfortable with it. But it was like trying to, especially the electrical side, to try and navigate the service manual side for electrical. And then it'd be like the connectors would be in a different section. And I was just like, man, this is so, because I come from Chrysler. If you ever looked at OE Chrysler, it is by far probably the best in terms of layout, point, click, navigate, search functions, the whole thing. Where Nissan didn't do it for me. I used a lot of the time. I'd use an aftermarket service system, information system, just to get to where I needed to go. Now, not
See,
obviously on the TSBs or stuff, but like if I wanted to
yeah.
look up the wiring, I just popped over to Identifix, hit it, which because what I was familiar with, and use that. Than trying
See,
to
and that's where
navigate yours.
that's where we're opposite, because I love Nissan's EWD. I
Yeah,
freaking love it. And when I
but
when I look at, I'm gonna call them a foreign wiring diagram, right?
okay, yeah,
From Chevy. Oh God, dude, I look at that stuff. I'm like, yo, what am I looking at?
yeah.
Like, I know the generic symbols and how to
Mm-hmm.
read wiring diagrams, but I'm just like, okay, I'm really gonna have to look at this versus, okay, boom, 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 right?
Right.
Because I started with Nissan,
That's what I was going to ask you. Right. That's
so
kind of yeah. So, how many years now have you been with them?
oh, going on 13 in August. It's
I
been
did
it's been
three.
some
I,
time.
I did 3 years and a bit. Yeah. So,
Yeah,
you know, I can't. And otherwise, though, I can't really say that like the product, other than the CVTs and the way some of they would get some harness issues up here in our climate.
hmm
Other than that, the cars are pretty like durable. I mean, I saw more than one Nissan come in the Versa with like no oil in it, and it'd leave totally fine.
their
Like
engines are stout. That's
oh,
that's one
dude,
thing I will say. The
yeah,
engines on the Nissans are stout.
yeah. But that
Aside
trans,
from that newer Rogue that they came out with,
yeah, I didn't. I
the
haven't
three
had my hands
cylinder.
on one of them yet. But the
That's all I'm gonna say. You want to
Yeah,
know about the 3-cylinder road? Go do your research, man. Dang.
yeah. But I see you're doing videos of rebuilding the CVTs and all that kind of stuff. Like up in Canada, we never got to where we actually had to rebuild them. We were just yanking them out, throwing another one in. You know what I mean?
Now,
Like it
did y'all
was.
do as many up there?
Oh
Because I
yeah,
know the CVTs hate the heat.
yeah. No, it don't matter. You know what? I bet you, Fluff, they hate more than the heat. They hate the fucking snow, man. With people spinning the tires on
Yes. Yep.
them, because
Spinning
that's
tires will definitely because where they slip in the highest gear ratio
yeah, yeah, yeah,
or lowest gear ratio. Wherever you know,
yeah.
at low speeds.
We would see them come in a lot of the time, and it was like, and so the I saw now I didn't see it personally, but the guys that would tell me there was a rash of them that would come off the truck, right off the delivery truck, and the CVT was shot. I want to say
Really.
it might have been the Centris, and not the Rogue so much. But
I
I
think I've
remember
seen a couple of them.
I saw the earliest one I had was 11,000 kilometers on it. So do the math on that, like 7,000 miles. And
Mhm.
she was all neutrals. She was no go. Just that big high pitch whine. And it didn't have like bald tires on it, like somebody had been like hogging on it, trying it just whatever came apart inside just decided to come
No
apart.
evidence of an accident or anything.
No, no, man.
Man.
No. It was so that for us was kind of like, and they're okay steady work. Like I mean, it was good, but like it was hard because some of those customers after they go through that on the car, you know how that is. Fluff. They don't want no part of that car no more, right? Like they
Yep.
either want to trade it in or they think everything is related. I had a guy with a Versa. I can remember that we put a transmission in it, and then he comes back like 6 months later and says my AC doesn't work. Because ever since you put the tranny in, and it was the clutch was failed on the AC compressor, like all the
Yeah.
clutches on the Nissan compressors fail, and totally unrelated. But like you could not, we had a problem where you couldn't get the service advisors to actually sell the Diag time to that. If the customer said it was ever since, it was an ever since, and it was a comeback, and it was like so. Then you go and do the real quick, you know, check to the clutch circuits there, clutch is open, don't get paid. And that
Yeah.
was kind of just like I could see where that kind of customer was starting to get really frustrated with the CVT thing. And I said to
Yeah.
everybody, I said, like, man, if they'd start selling these cars with stick shifts in them, like I would recommend them to everybody because the engine you can neglect the engine,
Dude,
you know.
the Versa manual transmissions,
Yeah,
those things will run. Those things will run forever. The Sentra,
yeah,
you get a Sentra with the stick shift, that'll run.
yeah,
Man,
yeah.
the only thing is the clutch. You get a beginner driver driving a stick shift, and then they burn up
Hmm.
the clutch. But
Yeah.
We imagine a world where the customer experience is seamless for auto repair. Where every interaction is effortless.
Hey Jen, Sam here. How can I help you?
Hi, Sam. I just had a warning light pop up, and I think I
Every
remember you told me
detail
last
is
time.
anticipated.
Sure, around now.
Yeah, it looks like last time you were in, we said there was something that we could possibly need to address with your spark plugs. So let's get you in here and make sure everything's good before you go on your launch.
And every customer feels
You'll be
valued.
getting a text alert shortly. We're going to send Jerry over the car. You'll be able to swap cars with him, so you have a loaner for the rest of the day.
Thank you so much.
This is the future with TechMetric. A fully connected system designed to redefine how auto repair shops operate and deliver excellence. From streamlined appointment scheduling to real-time updates, TechMetric empowers shops to work smarter. With integrated payments, transparent pricing, and instant
Again, actually, it
communication,
was just as we thought. Definitely going to need to replace the spark plug.
customers stay informed and in control at every
Charge,
step.
and we should have that car back to you in a couple hours.
Sounds great.
In TechMetric shops, decisions are powered by data. Owners can track progress in real time. Technicians have the tools to succeed, and service writers focused on what matters most. Building trust with customers. It's not just a repair, it's an experience. A seamless, efficient, and customer-first journey
Janet's Mike.
that keeps people coming back.
Sure everything was to your satisfaction.
Fantastic.
Good to hear.
With TechMetric, every moment matters. Every interaction counts.
mean, it's still, you do a clutch job, which to do a clutch job on a Versa, I think is like 4.5 hours. It's not bad. I mean, depending on the labor rate,
Hmm.
it's a lot better than doing the CVT.
Yeah, yeah. And even, I mean, man, you know how it is. You get to where you've done so many of them, right? It's like muscle memory. You just shut
Oh
your eyes
yeah,
and you know what tool. You reach behind your cart, you grab your tool, you take the next bolt out. Like it's just it's so incredible. You mentioned you went to UTI,
Lincoln
right?
Tech.
Lincoln Tech, excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Excuse me. How was that?
In my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
it was a waste.
Okay.
Aside from electrical,
Okay.
I could not grasp electrical for the life of me.
Really?
So yeah, and it all depends who's teaching you,
Yeah.
right? So in high school, when I was going through my automotive program, I did 4 years in high school
Mm-hmm.
of straight automotive. The way my instructor there was teaching it, I couldn't grab it. Fast forward 2 years later into tech school. After my intro class, we went straight into basic electrical. 3 days, bro. I got it.
Yeah.
Everything just I tell people it was like a light bulb just going off. Boom.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started remembering everything that my high school teacher was talking about.
Right.
I'm like, oh, dude, okay, I get it. And after that, it was just
So did you get tripped up too much, you think, on maybe the math of it versus the theory? Because that was the big hurdle for me was to get away from the a series parallel and calculating for resistance and all that stuff. Like
it wasn't the math. I was great at the math. It was the grasping the concept of how the hell do you know there's voltage right there?
right.
You know, how do you know it's the component versus a
Mm-hmm.
power issue or a ground issue?
Mm-hmm.
And as simple as my instructor in tech school said, go to the source. I mean, go to the component. Do you have power or ground? Right? Whatever you're missing, that's the path you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
You got power there, you got ground there, you're looking at a component or a pin fit,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
See, I found the way they tried to teach it to us in my class, in the college class, was so much. It was written in like an engineering level. Okay, so this is
Hmm.
if you want to design circuits, this is series circuits, parallel circuits, and all this kind of stuff, and the resistance changes this way versus that way, and that was all great. And then it was like, and then you'd get out to, and they're trying to tell you, like, okay, how would you troubleshoot this component? And it all comes back to just like you said, you go, or this circuit, you go to the component, you test for what's supposed to be there. If
Yep.
everything is supposed to be there, flesh out the component, and away you go. You're on to your next thing. But I was
Yep.
getting so tripped up until I got with my first employer. And then I can remember he took my meter away. He gave me an incandescent test light bulb, and he said, "Here, this is how we do it here."
Yeah.
And light the same thing, light bulb moment, and all of a sudden it was just like, you'd walk out to a truck or trailer with a test light in your hand and a couple jumper wires, and
Hmm.
you'd make the truck run, right? And then it was like after that, it just became put that on a broad level of every
Yeah.
component in the vehicle, whether it's a horn or a wiper motor, and just go. And that was
See it.
it served me so well for flat rate because it's like I want to prove that the expensive component maybe I can make it work, and then I can
Yeah.
sell a whole bunch of time. You don't need a $900 fuel pump, but I got to find that wire. Now I can sell 3 hours of Diag to flesh out the harness, right, or flesh out this.
Correct.
If I chuck the fuel pump in and it's $900 and still don't start, nobody's paying me now 3 hours to find the wire, right, or the
Yeah.
ground or whatever it is. That's how I learned real quick to prioritize it.
That is a gut wrenching feeling when you put a component in and you were so certain. Oh my god.
I still to this day I hate to call a module. Hate it.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what the
It
module
is so
does or
scary.
it is. It is. I'd
Yep.
rather put an engine in every day and like wait to hear that click to know that it's like, is it fired up, that crunch motor isn't
Yeah.
going to knock or whatever, than to ever call modules, because it's like we're trained that it's never the module, but you and I know it is a lot of the
Yep.
time.
See, and that, let's go back to where you said about Nissan, right? A lockout code,
Hmm.
P1610, right? For the NAT system.
Yeah.
You can't get a key to program. What does it tell you to do? Do a BCM. All right. Does it fix it? Yes or no? You click no, boom, ECM. You're like, dude,
Yeah.
you're 2 modules in now. And it might have not even been the BCM,
That's right. Yeah.
but it tells you to do that first before you go to the ECM.
I saw one of your more recent videos on that kind of stuff, and it was really cool because I mean, that's the thing with Nissan. Like when I would look at their flowcharts, I'm like, this is not. There's a better way for this,
Mm-hmm. Oh,
And
you
now I
talking
get,
about that Infinity I posted?
yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
because
and
you,
I mean, I'll never know whether
yeah,
that key unit is going to fix it or not. My assumption is that they jump started the vehicle backwards,
uh-huh,
you
uh-huh.
know. But I know for a fact that key unit was bad only because I could not communicate with there's no steering. It has a steering lock, right? So it was stuck unlocked. And then I couldn't get the key to even want a program, which that's a security gateway, if you will. It's a
Yeah.
security system.
I did a bunch of those recalls for the steering
The
lock
steering
there.
lock unit. Oh, then you know all about that. Ugh,
Well, we were
freaking hate
just
them.
like we were driving them in and just doing the mod, doing the module and putting them back out. Like it wasn't. We weren't having a ton of them coming in by the time the recall was released for
Yeah,
us. Anyway, for me, that had been like that module had caused the car not to start. Like
man, that was what
yeah,
2010 through about 14 that recall was alive.
yeah, yeah. I remember it used the first time you look at that stupid bolt and you're like, how the hell do you get that fucking bolt out of there?
Yeah,
And
get
then
it
you get
down.
an air hammer in there and chisel and walk it back out, twist out your fingers, put the new one in. Like it was,
uh,
but the first time I'm like, how are they getting these out? Yeah, stupid.
dude,
We're
here.
talking for people that are wondering. We're talking about these bolts that have that torque to break off head fastener type thing on them, right? Because that's what they want them
The
done.
breakaway bolts.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
those are fun,
they were put in by
especially
the
when you're
fact.
doing it in the parking lot. And the car don't want to start, and you have no choice.
Yeah, yeah.
It's hot, hot.
Well, yeah, but imagine it in the snow, Fluff. Like up here, we didn't work too much in the snow. We just pushed the damn thing in,
Yeah.
But that's
Oh, I'm a bear.
yeah, we had a
Yeah.
we had our ramp like actually to push into our shop though was on an incline, so it was a bit of a ramp to get it going.
Hmm.
So it wasn't like I could push a Versa by myself out of the shop,
Yeah.
but trying to get anything up the ramp into the shop, hell no, like no,
Y'all didn't have a pusher? Oh well, I
no.
don't even think that shit would work in the snow.
Yeah, we had a pusher. It's called a shop full of people that you got to be friendly with, or else
Uh huh.
you've seen those politics, right? If they don't like you, they're going to stand there and watch you
Yep.
push the fucking thing.
Let me ask you a quick. Let me ask you
Yeah,
a question real quick
give
because
her.
you did mention the test light. How do you feel about power probes? I'm a big power probe guy.
It's a fantastic tool for making a component work, but I have gone back behind. It's dozens of technicians at this point that I've seen them misdiagnose
Hmm.
the circuit because it shows, it beeps, it shows out 12 volts, and it So for me, I had a Power Probe 2 when it didn't have the screen, and
Okay.
so it didn't have the voltmeter. And then I have the 3. I've never gotten. I have a drawer full of the other stuff: the 5-volt adapter, the pulse width adapter, the amp tip. I
Yeah.
just bought the Power Probe fault finder, the PP draw, or not fault finder, parasitic drain tester, the PP draw. I just bought that this week. I love those tools, but for me, the Power Probe 3 when it came out with the voltmeter in it, I tell kids all the time that I'm training, put electric tape over that. Don't just use it for if I want to go to a blower motor, I want to go to a window motor, I want to go to a tail lamp. I've got the circuit isolated from the rest of the car. I can't really hurt too much. Then use it that way. But don't trust that it shows you 12 volts because I've got an open circuit here and I touched my meter to it, and it shows me 12 volts. That ain't loaded. Chuck and I had that conversation over a year ago because I would watch all his videos and I mean I love the dude and he'd be whipping through his videos and I'm like, well, you don't really know that you have 12 volts. And he's like, no, my power probe. Yes, but and then now he's got his load cage. I'm not responsible for
Yeah.
that. He was already, but for editing sake, he was just showing that I have 12 volts, and I'm like, no. And it's no different, Fluff, than using a fluke and unplugging the component and going, I have 12 volts. You don't
Yeah,
really have
that's
shit
why
if there's no load, right? So
that's
that's
why I
fine.
tell people always, when you're checking for available voltage, you know, make sure the circuit is working or plugged in. It has its times. I
Yeah.
get that.
But
You
what
know.
I love about a test light is it's for me it's faster because I'm about current, right? I don't care about
Hmm.
voltage is just a number. It's math to me. But if I have current, the fucking thing is gonna work,
Yeah.
right? It's gonna work. So it's just faster for me. It's just numbers. It could be 12 volts. I worked on trucks for years. It was 24 volts. Like
Mm,
I don't care about what that number is as long as it's at least close. I want to know that the current's flowing. Then I know I'm not
yeah.
dealing with a break in the wire or a rubbed wire or a loose whatever. I've got current flow. That was just
You,
it for me. It's how I
you see,
learned.
and that instructor I was telling you about that made
Yeah,
the light bulb go off in my head, right? He feared us on test lights.
really. Yeah,
Yeah. Testing. His whole thing was testing computers,
yeah, yeah.
right? This dude was a wizard. You
Sure.
get these guys that are so smart, they're weird.
Yeah,
So, he's like, never use a test light when you're testing circuits because the draw can fry a computer. Oh fuck, okay. And then he's all, use this.
and
But
but he didn't pull out a power probe and say that. Like I
yeah,
used this instead. Really,
yeah.
it's all good until you hit that switch accidentally.
Oh, dude, unless I know what I'm doing,
Yeah,
unless I know for a fact I need 12 volts there, I'm hitting that rocker.
yeah, yeah.
Like when I started that
Mm-hmm.
Q60 up or Q,
Mm-hmm.
what was it? A
70.
G37.
Yeah,
It was a G37. Unless I know I need 12 volts there, boom, and I'm hitting it.
yeah. And that for me I so the groundbreaking moment for me was learning Paul Danner and some of the other guys that taught about like a bypass test with a test light. And he, they say it like this is like think about it. Think about how many modules we've seen survive when a coil shorts or an injector shorts or something like that. If you mean to tell me a bulb going across those two wires is going to hurt that driver versus it can shut down, like it can have a failed injector go shorted, and depending on, as my friend Brian Pollock used to say, how much ass that module's got,
Yeah.
it can tolerate it. It can take it and it come back fine. So Paul says, most of the time you're going to be safe. 99% of the time.
And
You
and
never
that's what
stay
I
wrong.
love about this whole social media thing, man. I learn from guys all the time. I may not apply it to my everyday, because Nissan has their certain problems, and like I've never needed to load test a wire
Hmm.
because it's always just. That's why I feel like Nissan's easy because it's the problems just always like right there, and then
Do you see the rogues up here? Those in the kick panel on the driver's side, those connectors that fill up with water. Do you see that a lot even down in your area, or is that just a Canadian thing? Because
it, it might be it might be up there, bro.
we'd see that all the time, bro.
Because
All the
they
time.
came out with that connector recall where you put the lithium grease on there, or you put that foam padding to cover
Yeah,
it. You know, hell, I have never put a pigtail on there. I've never had to
dozens,
clean it out. Just inspect. There's no
dozens,
corrosion.
dozens. Fixed dozens of them all the time.
But why was there getting moisture in there? Was it now? I've seen some where I think this was a Frontier way back then when they had the luggage bars up top
Right.
on the Frontiers and they said
Hmm.
Frontier. I had one that had a seal leaking and it went down the A pillar and then down into the kick panel.
So the rogues, they would want us to take the inner fender well out and some of the stuff
Oh
under
shit,
the
sorry.
hood and actually run more body sealer on some of the seams. They said it was
Really?
coming in on the seams on the firewall and on the inner fender well. That's where this, but it could also come down from the sunroofs, right? Like water
Hmm.
drain and stuff. But I mean, that's where I had a bunch of them that I had the inner fender well out running way more like seam sealer onto those seams to stop it. Now, and you know what that work is like, Fluff. Like trying to get them to pay you to do the water test and film the water coming in and all, like that's just horseshit. We went ahead and most of the time inspected that connector if it was full of water. Then we pulled the inner fender out and started seam sealing everything. We didn't pull the water to the car. We found the failure, then went by pattern failure, fixed what was probably going to be the problem.
Yeah, see, I never even knew
Yeah.
what that recall was about. Why
Yeah.
it was even there. I was like,
Yeah, it was a good one.
you
I
know,
can't
and before
remember so much of what was the symptoms of what the car would do when that connector was full of water. Like I can't say, oh yeah, I had to push a bunch of them in for it because of that, or. But I remember like a lot of weird electrical stuff. You'd go there on the roads, and
well, I know that connector, I want to say it went to the rear of the vehicle.
mhm.
So like you would lose like uh fuel level readings and
Okay,
certain
yeah,
lights and stuff like that. I want to say I might be wrong, but I want to say that one led to the rear of the vehicle.
yeah. Nissan was one of the worst ones I saw at OE level for pin fit too, right out of the gate. I can remember having multiple new verses that like the guy go and PDI them and run them over to the gas station and fuel them up, and the fuel gauge is sitting there reading empty, and it's like, oh yeah, rip out the
Yeah.
back seat, unplug the fuel pump, plug it back in, it works, and that's all it would be. And
Do
I
you
was just,
remember the I think it was the Xteras
hmm.
where you had to brake clean out the fuel pump connector?
I remember hearing
It was
about
a
it, but we didn't
recall.
see many Xteras up here by the time I was
I
there.
want to say it was Pathfinders also,
Okay,
but you'd get a dummy connector and it had
okay.
a hose for a brake clean can, connect it to the fuel pump and just go to town. Some of the recalls, man, I'm like, hey, 0.5, whatever, dude.
Right,
Pay me.
right. No, I can remember doing the Rogue fuel pump recall. That was
Hmm.
coming out. And we were like that time initially. You looked at this and like I think it was like 1.1, and of course the customer would always bring it in right full of fuel, right? And you're like, how do I keep
Yep.
the smell of fuel out of the car? Like it was just, but we got to where we were doing it pretty fast. Like it was nothing at all, but it was frustrating at first because like
That
trying
was
to
for
get
the where you replace the lock ring, right?
we did a
And the
pump and
seal.
a lock ring, pump,
Oh,
lock ring, and seal. So I'm not sure why. I
I
think they
haven't done
initially
one.
were.
You might be right. You
I
might be
think they
right.
were saying fluff because they thought the lock rings were over torqued and was cracking the top of the pump, the plastic,
Hmm.
and that you were getting a fuel smell or possible fuel leak. So change it all. I remember doing that, and then it might have been updated to only the lock rings. But
You might. You know what? I think you're right.
yeah, I
I think
remember
you're
doing a
right.
pile of them
Because
too.
and we had to pull out both of the pumps,
Yeah.
the transfer and yeah.
Mhm.
I remember
Get a
now,
piece of wire and snake it through the tank to pull out the other side. And
dude. I use speaker wire.
yeah.
Then I would tie it off to the door hinge, and yeah, that was.
What? And that, like you're talking about the older Pathfinders, that shit rusts up here, right? So I mean, we don't. I know one friend that has the Pathfinder generation previous to what you and I are most familiar with, and all I remember hearing about those things is like the rad would
The
grenade on the
intermix,
inside, and it intermixed with the transmission. And I
I
saw
love
one of
them.
them come in like that. It had a brand new tranny in it, and he left. He was 2 hours away from where he had the tranny put in. That started to slip again, and we caught it in time. And I'm like, "Is your rad level down?" He's like, "Son of a bitch, it is." I'm like, "They didn't," and he'd had it done at the dealer. That was the sad part. And I'm like, "The guys at the dealer didn't know about this," but it was already a 10-year-old car at that point. So
Yeah,
the
you
chances
see,
are,
and
maybe
this is where people need to understand that just because you're at a dealer doesn't mean you're going to get the highest level quality of tech there.
that's right.
You might get a guy that just started.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
and
yeah.
dude, every shop has their good, their bad, and their mids.
Hmm.
Whether you're a dealer or independent, you know. So I just wish they would stop pushing that whole. I'm like you. I hate dealership. It's so annoying because I know what I am. And I know what my other master is, right? Because
Hmm.
it's only two of us that are the masters there, and then we're watching over a shop full of 8 or 9 other techs.
Yeah.
So we know what we got, and then to know that there's people constantly just dragging the name or the dealership name. It's like, dude, but on the other side we get independent cars that come in and you're like, what the like
Oh,
what
dude. All kinds.
They MacGyvered the hell out of this vehicle.
I can. One of the
Like,
last ones when I
bro.
was still there. I can't remember. It was an older Nissan front wheel drive car, Sentra or
Mhm.
whatever, right? Something like that. And it come in and it was gutted. I mean, it had the fuel pump out of it. There was a fuel pump sitting there in the seat, and it was like towed in, not starting. And like you left under the hood, half the stuff wasn't plugged in. The airbox is flopping around, all this kind of stuff. And of course, you get a 1 hour to Diag. And I want to, I can't remember what it was, but it was a little 4-cylinder, 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder, can't remember. But I remember I walked out to it and I cranked and I heard how it sounded, and I reached down and I unplugged the cam sensor, and it started and ran. Long crank, but it would run with the cam sensor. And I walked back in. And I said, something's wrong with the engine. Like, how do you know that? Well, because it's out of time. Well, how do you know it's out of time? Because the sensor's obviously putting out some kind of signal, because when it's plugged in, it don't run. But if I eliminate it,
Yeah.
and so that thing had been sitting at this shop for 2 weeks. The guy chucked all them parts out. Not a good shop. And like, of course, so then when we tell the customer that, gets towed back out, because the customer in that case was the shop bringing it in, because he was convinced that he needed an ECM and he couldn't program it. I had another one that came from the local Midas store that had sat there 3 weeks, and they send over with a used ECM. A program used ECM. Can't program it, won't communicate. Can't communicate with new or old. Guess what? And it was an Altima, and the wiring down near the battery corroded. So it wasn't sending power all the way through the harness up to the thing. So I jumped 12 volts from the lighter socket and drove the car around back out front with the wire still tagged, and said, "Here, have them
So
come pick
what
it up."
was it? Those two big connectors on the
Yeah.
fusible link?
Yeah.
Yep, I've seen plenty of those.
So I mean, and I'm like, so when people say to me, "Oh, you dealership guys are crooks," and listen, it's not about crook. That I've said it 100 times. Most of us are not out there trying to rip anybody off. It's incompetence. It's not enough, and I don't even say it's incompetence. It's not enough time to actually get to the root of most of the problems in these cars. That's it in a nutshell. You cannot diagnose a lot of this stuff in under an hour anymore, unless it's pattern failure. That's it. It's just like, guys in the aftermarket want to charge an hour for initial diag. You're shooting yourself in the foot. You know what you're doing. You're walking over identifix. You're quoting the top part. You got a Nissan with a 101. I'm going to quote a mass airflow sensor. Fluff, you know how that goes most of the time, right? How often is it really the sensor?
Rarely.
That's right.
Throttle bodies.
Yeah.
Throttle bodies.
Clean it up and put the software in it,
Yep.
Like,
but
for us.
I will throw a mass airflow in there, because sometimes these, it's always that luck, man. You get burned once, you get burned twice, and you're like, you know what? I'm doing both at the same time.
Yeah.
I'm not. And it's just because to have a customer come back with the same code, now you got a disgruntled customer.
That's right.
So you know what? I'm going to charge them once, cry once, buy once, or however they say it, buy once, cry once, right? And they be done. And then they're happy, right?
I had a lot of them where it ran fine, but I had a 101. I had a Rogue just last month. It was like, she come in and she's like, well, I've been to 2 other shops for this check engine light problem. What code were you fixing last time? 456? Yeah, they got it right. They changed the vent valve, that fixed the evap code. Now you got a 101. Oh, so it's not the same thing? No. So they're already up in arms, right, Fluff, at like the last shop, and it's like, hey, guess what? Different problem. And it's the same thing. Like, I looked at her air filter's like a mess. And I take the mass airflow out of it, like, blow it all out, clean it. And the car drove fine. Just had a 101 recurring. No, not down on power, not stalling or nothing. I said, you need software for this. And same thing. Send it over to the dealer. The dealer says, oh, we can't flash it. There's something wrong with the DLC. Bring it back. Straighten one pin in the DLC. And then we logged in through Autel and went through Expert Remote and got it flashed for, and that fixed the car.
See, and for that update, it tells you in there, if there's a drivability concern, the update won't fix it.
That's right. 100%. Yeah.
And so you have to go through the flow chart.
Look for the color of the PCV valve that it has. Remember that? Is it orange or black? And then proceed on.
I literally just did one today.
Yeah.
Literally just did that. It drove like shit. The customer thought they needed a transmission.
Yeah.
And I get in it. The advisor was stoked. He's like, oh, a transmission. Sorry, buddy. Oh, this is the perform TSB, replace map sensors, and ship it. Get it out of here.
Yeah.
I
And
made a video on that one.
nice. I'll be looking for
So
that. And that's so I gotta ask, because here's the other thing that sometimes happens that we don't talk about it near enough in this industry. You made a very good point. I'm not trying to run down service advisors, right? But your service advisor or anybody from an incentivized commission thing is going, fucking right, man, this is a $6,000 ticket right here. Like my kiss of this is gonna be good, you know?
mhm.
And then you go and do the right thing. Doesn't need a transmission yet. I mean, it's a Nissan, going to need one eventually.
Yeah,
But and that's the thing that I sometimes think gives the whole industry a black eye is the actions of the service advisor, you know, versus the mechanic. Everybody wants to. I left such and such Nissan store, and the experience was terrible. Sometimes that's not the mechanic; that's the advisor.
yeah.
Dropped the ball, screwed that up, right? Got really overzealous, whatever it is, right?
Yep.
That's
And
what I think.
sometimes it's neither. Sometimes the customer just doesn't like the prices or doesn't get the answer that they want,
Yeah.
and
How
so
many
they.
times have you seen the aftermarket mass airflow? You have to have that tough conversation with the customer where it's like, guess what? You only needed initially just a throttle body clean, but whoever you took it to, Jim Bob or whatever, that took your good part and threw it in the trash, you now need a
I
four
had
hundred
I
dollar.
had one.
Yeah.
I had one that I put a Hitachi O'Reilly's in. Right,
Mm,
it's supposed to be an OEM Hitachi from O'Reilly's. Put it in 3 times, dude.
yeah.
Each and every time we said, no, you need to buy one from us because these aftermarket companies sell gray market, black market parts
Yeah.
where they're freaking cloned.
Hmm.
No, just put it in, program it. Okay. Each time, put it in, try to do idle air, it won't go through. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
So I'll freaking limp it up to the front. This is, it is what it is. By the 4th time she came back, okay, I'll buy one. She bought one, put it in. Haven't seen her since.
Now, were they paying you every time?
Yes.
They charging her
Yep.
every time?
Yep.
So she saved nothing.
She saved nothing. She saved nothing, man.
Oh.
I felt bad, but at the same time, and here's the funny part is when I located to the vehicle, I went to go get the keys from the cabinet, right?
Yeah.
And it had the bag with the mass airflow attached to it.
Yeah.
And I said, oh no. Contacted the advisor right away. Dude, we need to sell them one of ours because this ain't going to work.
Mhm.
Well, she don't want to. She don't want to. Just install it. Okay. All right. I try to push back, and it's always. And the crazy thing is, our mass airflow was only $20 more. Can you believe
$20.
that? It was like I did a whole stream. Dude, I wish I still had it because I did a whole stream on that one when I had did it, and yeah, I was like, these two right here look freaking identical. One has our part number scratched off, the other doesn't. I don't know what they do. They mess with them.
I think they take one that doesn't work and they clean it. I think what they're doing out there is they're buying up returned parts under
Hmm.
warranty from dealers when they take your shit back because, oh, we need to know that you actually put a part in this before we'll pay the warranty claim. I think
Oh
they're
yeah,
buying that from the OEs and they're cleaning them, painting them, doing something, right, with these parts that get returned. And then they're buying them up and selling them out. You can't convince me there aren't parts suppliers out there doing that.
yeah.
You will not convince me.
You see,
Cardone, that's pretty much what Cardone is.
and what
Slap
people
some
don't
paint on.
understand, there's a computer chip inside the mass airflows now, so it's not just power ground. You get your 4 to 6 wires. They're 3 wire now. You have a communication line in there. So
Yeah.
just
What I gotta ask this because I've never, my times at the dealer, like I never got to an official master.
mhm.
When you go to the advisor and you say it needs this versus one of the other guys, do they treat you the same or do they just like if Fluff says that it needs a MAF, we just call the customer or
Yeah, it has its perk.
yeah, good.
It has its perk. Now, there are times sometimes I am wrong. I'll shoot from the hip because I'm like, oh, I'm confident. I already freaking know, but
Yeah.
you know, it happens. But 99% of the time, they're like, "What did you get with love?"
Mhm.
And that's the thing too. They'll be like, "Did you get with Fluff or did you get it with the other master tech?" When it's a different technician. Yeah. And okay. So like being a master at a dealer holds a lot of weight if you could back it up.
Mhm.
I've seen masters that,
Yeah.
they
Oh
passed the
yeah.
test, they went through the courses, and they can't find their way out of a rabbit hole.
Right. How do you find so then in that way, how much of your day to day are you called on to actually have to mentor the other young people in the dealership, the younger techs that are not at master yet? And is it a big time constraint on you? And is it
Oh yeah,
rewarded?
like at this point they're like, "Fluff, be our foreman, be our foreman." I'm like, hell no, you know, no, I don't want that responsibility. But we do have our shop foreman, and then it's hard for us, me and the other master, to be like, go talk to so and so,
Hmm.
because I get it, they're on flat rate too,
Right.
and sometimes I'm like, man, I don't want to help them, but at the same time, the longer they struggle, the longer we get set back, the longer the customers behind that vehicle have to wait.
Hmm.
Because if this dude is waiting too long or struggling too long, it's a freaking snowball effect.
Yeah.
And so I take that in. You got to be a team player, man.
Yeah.
And you know, it sucks sometimes because you're trying to make your own money to fend your family, but you know,
Oh, for sure. I was not always the best team player because like I was out for the way incentivize works for me is I'm out for me. I
hmm
am for me. Like I don't, and I was bad. I didn't care if there was a parking lot full of cars and I was the only one that could solve them. Didn't care. It's good, more for me. That's how I thought. And it took a long time and getting into the aftermarket side of things to realize that's not a good attitude to have.
yeah,
But yet that's what they rewarded me with was like the more cars that I could get through, the more cars that I was the only one that could get through, the more money I made. So it was an unfortunate situation that customer was waiting maybe 3 days before I could get to it. Didn't matter.
yeah.
It's gonna be mine.
You see,
You
and
know.
here's something that I'm having trouble dealing with, if you will. So when let's say the foreman comes up to me, "Hey, can you look at this vehicle?" Dude, I'm kind of busy.
Hmm.
Well, I need somebody who's going to be able to figure it out.
Hmm.
I don't trust them. I'm like, they need to be able to struggle a little bit to
Yeah.
learn,
100%. Yeah.
you know. But then on the other end, the shop managers and stuff like that, they don't want them to mess up. I
True.
remember a term, right? You got to earn your dues. You got to pay your dues. You have to struggle. Struggling builds character.
It's yeah, you learn your instincts. Well, you don't learn your instincts, but you develop a lot of your process and you kind of get the feel for the product, if I can say that, if you kind of know what I mean about what it
hmm
tends to be and what it tends not to be. When you struggle, that's the cars that kick my butt are the ones I'll remember forever. That's where the
Exactly.
lessons
You always
came.
remember the bad. You
That's
always remember the bad.
that's how the lesson got burned in my friggin' brain. Don't hook up the ground to that. Hook the ground to the battery, dum dum. Every time. It doesn't matter
hmm
if you're on the front of the car or the back. You go to the battery because you don't know what that ground is. Yeah, I know you got one test and you've proven it, but it's just that one time that you don't. You don't verify your tool and you make the wrong call.
Yep.
Been there, done it. It's happens. That's how people improve. That's how we grow.
Yep.
So when I was that way too, where it's like they'd say, "Can you look at this card?" Sure, put it in a pile, man. When
Yeah.
I get through this, I'll go to the next one. But I did
So like,
not want to stop what I was doing to go look,
yeah,
unless it was one
knowing
of the
what you're
comebacks.
doing, and the higher ups knowing that you know what you're doing is a blessing, but sometimes it sucks.
It's a
Sucks
heavy
because you
weight.
become very dependent. You become very dependent.
It's like Mark Elliott though, like Tobitech. He posted how
Mhm.
like you become indispensable. And
Yeah, I
I
seen that.
go, and I'm like, there's no such thing as that. No such thing. They will toss you. If you get too much, too big ahead, too greedy, too whatever, you go through something in life that maybe just you're fighting with, and your focus is not 100. They don't care. You're not indispensable.
Yeah.
You have to make yourself like valuable to them for sure, but you got
Yep.
to make yourself like it's a constant battle of playing your abilities against what they need. That's it. That's all
Yeah.
you can ever be, is you can be somebody that they tolerate, because it's like I worked with countless really good mechanics. They're not punctual people. They didn't walk in at 8 o'clock. They missed the morning meeting every damn time it was supposed to happen. Like, they had quirks, but they needed them to get the cars fixed because they had
Yeah.
tons of experience and tons of insight.
Oh,
Did they love
I'll
them?
be
No.
straight up with. I'll be straight up with you right now. You want me there at 8 o'clock? I ain't getting there at 8. I have morning duties with my kids that I got to take care of. And,
Yeah.
I tell them 8:30 to 9.
Uh,
I don't live the closest to the dealership either.
right.
So, kids going to school is kind of important. I get it.
Hmm.
I need to be there at 8 for those morning whatever, right?
Yeah.
How much am I really affecting the shop? To
Well,
me,
that's it.
not that
Yeah.
much, right? I don't get paid to be there. I get paid to work on the vehicles.
That's right.
So if I show up and the parking lot's empty at 8 o'clock and I had an issue with my kids or whatever, I'm like, I'm literally just standing around, or I'm helping somebody else make money while I have nothing to pull into my bay,
That's right.
right? So it's a weird balance that we have to go through.
So, as the master, how can I say
But I
that
do
with
stay
two of
late.
them?
I do stay late every
Okay, I was gonna do this. Gonna be my follow up question, but as the master, do you find like they look after you guys to make sure that you have work, or is it just still like it doesn't matter? It's a free for all.
It's a free for all.
See, I ain't about that life. No.
Yeah, it's a free for all. I will say the first 2 weeks of this year, probably my worst, dude. I had like 12 hours for 2 weeks. And one of those weeks was like point four hours. Actually, that was a
So,
week of Christmas.
but there were still cars coming in the dealer.
Hardly, hardly. This winter was a weird winter, bro.
Yeah.
It was a weird winter for us. And we talked to a lot of technicians. You talk to a lot of technicians. I talked to a lot of technicians. And like we had a talk last night and they're saying the same thing. Like, man, this has been one of the slowest winters
Yeah.
for us.
Do you have any kind of guarantee at your shop?
No, I'm pushing for it. I am pushing and pushing, trying to make it happen. But we're a small, I think this is why too. We're a small group,
Right.
right? So we don't have, let's say Mac Hike, right? Mac Hike has dealerships throughout the country.
Hmm.
Not us. We are who we are, and that's it.
But you're still part of a dealer group.
Just whoever's on the lot.
Yeah.
That's it.
Uh, see, I'm different because I look at it like from a very jaded perspective,
Hmm.
which is like as soon as you hold them accountable in some way with a guarantee, it means that they are forced to operate efficiently enough, have their marketing right, have all their pricing right, that they can continue to supply a steady stream of cars for you guys to fix.
Hmm.
And everybody thinks like that, because there's a lot of dealers now that are finally, oh, we'll guarantee you 30 hours, we'll guarantee even 40 hours. That sounds good, because at my tenure at Nissan, 45 was a good week. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't, we had too many pigs at the trough, if you know what I mean, and way too much warranty work, not a lot of retail work at all.
Hmm.
I never saw a transmission get done retail ever. I never
Really?
saw nope, never saw an engine repair get done retail. Not while I was there. It was always warranty or it wasn't being done.
Hmm.
That was just the way it is in my area. So, uh, most of our retail work was services, brakes, front end, some Diag, which
Yeah.
was a short term Diag. We didn't get into long, drawn out things. So what happens then is it's like, okay, well, we're going to guarantee you. Okay, cool. All right. I'm the type where if like there's no cars, I don't want to be in the shop. It messes with my head. It pisses me off. I get in a really bad headspace. I want to go home, go fishing. I want to spend time with my friends and family. I don't want to be there. I'll come back in tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock, ready to go again.
I get
And
you, brother. I
yeah.
get you.
So
That
with the guarantee, they say, listen, you got to be here. You got to be here scrubbing your bay or, dancing to the music in your between the hoist arms. It doesn't matter. Like, you got to be doing something to get that
Yeah.
guaranteed pay. And I get that. But man, like, what it can happen the other way is all of a sudden now when we're busy, guys might be making 50, 60 a week again. But on your guarantee, you got to be there. Well, somebody hands you a sunroof job. Right. You know how that's going to go.
Yep.
And it's like you're going to lose your butt. And then it becomes the same thing it always was for me again. That guy that won't do a sunroof, he's going to hit 60 this week. And because he's going to turn and burn, easy, upsell, whatever. And me on my guarantee that got stuck with a sunroof job, I'm gonna get shafted. So
Yep. And it always happens like that.
and that's the guarantee thing for me. So it's like it's not when they wave it around like here's a carrot, come work for us, we got a guarantee. I'm like, oh yeah, I want to look at your numbers of what the techs are actually earning. Show me the hour
Ooh.
sheets.
I'm glad that you brought that up. So I get asked that question. Hey, how I'm looking to go somewhere else to a different dealer, a different
Right.
shop. They're offering me this much money and guarantee and blah blah blah. I'm like, ooh, guarantees are scary when they bring that up. Ask for their text sheet. See how much they've been flagging the past, I don't know, 3 months.
That's right.
If you have one guy hitting over 40, one or two guys hitting over 40, everybody's down in the teens and 20s. Be careful, buddy. Be careful.
Yeah, you're not gonna walk in and hit 40.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. You're gonna
And
be another guy.
that's a big thing that shop managers push. Oh, you have a potential to make 50, 60 hours a week. Yeah, that's true, but there's a workflow there.
And I've seen it. I've been that where it's like you're the new guy and they give you good work right out of the gate. You're like, it's the honeymoon phase. Like, look at this. This is I've turned 12, and everybody's looking at you like that motherfucker over there. Like he had 10 brake jobs in the last. And it's Wednesday, and like the flush machines have never left his bay. And then reality hits, and it's like you get a couple, certs, and you do some training. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, here's a really, ass kicker of a Diag problem or something, and you'd be on that sucker for all day. Or like the sunroof thing, like that.
Yeah.
That shit. I was never about that. Like if you brought me water leaks and wind noises, you'd probably watch me roll my box at it because
I'm half deaf, so I tell them I suck at
I'm the same too.
hearing.
Yeah, I'm the same.
I got 2 bad
so
ears.
Yeah, and the water leak thing, like my first tenure in a dealership when I was a kid, I say a kid, but a straight time apprentice, we had a guy that did it. Like he'd come from the body shop side of things, and he did all the water leaks and all the wind noises because he was a body tech. He could adjust doors. He could do water. He was that way, over here, didn't work for me.
Yeah, I hate those. I hate noises. I can't stand them.
Yeah. I know some guys are good at them, and they're like, hey, man, if you're good at it, friggin' right. But
I hate interior noise. I can catch an exterior, suspension, stuff like that. I don't have the chassis ears, right?
Right.
If I have a noise underneath, I'm getting that thing on the alignment rack. Hey, buddy, get in there. I need you to accelerate and stop, or let's bounce this thing around. It's been good, but every now and then, yeah, I do need them chassis ears. I will admit that.
The people
it's hard.
Yeah. The people that complain about the interior noise, like I just asked them flat out, "Was your fucking radio don't work?" Like what? And people look at you like you're crazy, but I mean, I never in my life would have thought that there were so many people that drove around without radio on, listening to their car. And I would have realized.
I will admit I have been the same way about that, right? Until I got an annoying ass squeak in my uncle's car because I was using his car while my car was down, right? It was the left rear quarter panel. I think there was a bracket loose in the bumper, and that thing went. He has a system in there, so I cranked that thing up. You can hear it through the damn over the radio. It was that bad. I'm like, oh my God. Now I understand these customers.
Mhm.
And so that changed my perspective. Like, well,
It's
okay, they must be that annoyed by it.
it's
But
frustrating though because it's just like when I look at it from a flat rate perspective, it's like it's so frustrating because it's like you can't get paid for all that time that it takes. There's no labor guide. There's no process that really says like I've seen guys put tape down the seals and all that kind of stuff, and that's all good. Chassis like you said, but
yeah,
you've got so much time into investing it to what find a loose bolt that was left loose at the factory and tighten it up.
yeah,
OE is not going to pay you for all that time. So I look at it and it's like, what is the reward at the end of the day for getting to the bottom of that problem as a technician in a flat rate environment? Pride. That's all you're getting because you're going to lose time. Like they're not going to cover your full nut. Even if you do cover your full nut, you got 8 hours into you find it. When the workflow is there, I could have made 12 on something else.
yeah.
And then it's like, what's the reward at that point?
Hmm.
You got to always think about that because, and here's the thing, it isn't like a pattern failure for electrical drivability where I do it the first time I'm going to see it again. That's one stupid loose bolt that probably you'll
Yep.
never see again.
See, and
That
here's the thing too. You invest so much time on that. We talk about locating to vehicles or getting dispatched to vehicles. You know, yeah, you might get your, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours off of it, right? Big whoop. Or 8 hours, like you said. How much potential work did you miss out on that is no longer available because it got scooped up by the other technicians? That's one thing I deal with too. Like, I had an EV in my stall that I had in my stall for 3 months waiting on parts and stuff. But in my Diag process, I was back and forth with Nissan. I'm missing out on all this work.
that's right.
Okay, not all this work, but the potential work that I could have located to.
Yeah.
The little bit of work that would come in, I couldn't grab because I had to be invested in this EV to try to figure out what was the issue. And that's one thing that's an issue also. I've seen multiple people talk about hourly versus flat rate. I get both sides, but see, what people don't understand is flat rate. I feel you can make the most money like when you're mid 20s, early 30s. That's your peak right there. That's where you're grinding out, right?
Yeah.
And being flat rate, you can make badass money, but you have to be hungry.
Yeah.
You have to be hungry. And there was another guy who was hourly. He came from a fleet department, right? And this is
Hmm.
on the internet, right? He tries to go into a dealership to work flat rate and he wasn't quick enough. So they let him go. So, working hourly, you still have to uphold productivity, right?
Sure.
You can't just ride the clock. So, the guys that, oh, fuck flat rate, blah, blah, blah. You have to be able to hustle yourself up there,
Yeah. I
not
have a
just.
reputation for being not fast.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I'm not a 100%. I'm never going to be that technician that's going to do like 4 tires in 12 minutes. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be that guy. Not
Yeah.
anymore. When I was 20 something, yes.
Oh,
Now I
yeah,
hurt so much.
definitely.
Like, and then it just
I.
becomes a situation of like the more not established, the more specialized work that they give you, it just messes up the mix even more. So at the end of the week, that guy over there that just did tranny re and re all day long, right? And it's
Mhm.
just they're not talking overhauls, we're just dumping units in. He's killing it, man. He's making 50, 60. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
you're over there solving like that pinched wire in the harness that, is happening every once in a blue moon. And you find it and you fix it or you put a whole harness in the truck or whatever. Or the tight engines, if you're doing one of them after a while, yeah, you can get some time. But I can remember the first ones when we were putting, like, guys were losing their ass on that.
Oh,
And it's
yeah.
like, so you're doing that, and then all of a sudden it's like, it starts to play with your head, where it's like, what's the sense in really trying to hustle on here? Because you know what? And I would see them do it, especially, here's something else. The pay plans where it's like, well, once you hit to 45, we're going to roll you up like $2 more. Oh, sweet. Right on. I can hit
Yeah.
45 easy. And then you'd be at 43. There's no work. Where'd all the work go?
Yep.
You'd almost think that it's like they're holding so they don't want to. And listen, I've talked to hundreds of technicians that have worked in dealerships under the exact same pay plan, and it
Yeah.
happens. It is a tool that they use.
Yeah. Ours
It's
goes
another
by proficiency.
proficiency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, as long as we're above 95%, as far as, they hold us accountable for 8 hours a day. And then on Saturdays, being a short day, you get 4 hours. So if you work that Saturday, you're held to 44 hours that week. And if you don't work that Saturday, you're held to 40. So they expect you to hit those numbers. But this was a big argument when this was becoming into play, when they brought it up to us about, oh, you're gonna make a lot of money off of this. Like, the reality is 8 hours per person isn't gonna be there, right? It's not gonna be there. That's the reality. You're gonna have 20 hours, some techs at 20, some at 30, some at 40, and then you're gonna have your few that are, always hitting their bonus.
Yeah.
And this is for the whole month that they ran this. So as long as you were at 95% for the whole month, you got a said percentage, or a said uh, dollar amount more, and you
Right.
got it in a check. But at the same time, they hold you accountable for um, fix it right first time. So the surveys that get mailed to the customers, if the customer didn't feel like you fixed their vehicle right, they
Yeah.
bombed you on it, you lose all that money. That's one I don't agree with. Because if you busted your tail, you made the hours, that should be your money, not taken away because a customer got upset that they brought their vehicle to you. You made a recommendation. It didn't get fixed because they didn't approve the repair.
That's right.
And so they bomb you on a survey. You know, I
Or
had I, I
yeah,
had a
see it's
customer come in. I had a customer come in. He bought a brake switch over the counter, installed it. Okay, first off, this brake switch bag, the packaging was already opened.
mm,
You remember the brake switch recall for the Sentras? Okay, the Armada used the same brake switch. So he installs it. Brake switch is bad. He brings it in to get diagnosed. I'm like, oh, this freaking brake switch is being used already. So what do? I sell him a brake. I tell him he needs a brake switch. Oh, I just bought it. Blah, blah, blah. Well, okay, you could take it back to parts, return it, and
mhm.
then I'll install it. But I got to charge you for diagnosis, and, you know, oh my, I lost, like $3,000 off of that
Oh,
because he
flop.
felt like it was a comeback.
I'd roll my box. I'd roll my box right in. It's the same to me as the CSI thing is a rigged game too. The
Well,
CSI
see,
thing, Chris.
this wasn't
No,
a dealership bonus. This was a manufacturer bonus. I
right.
don't know if you remember the losing it. Invest in the best. Nissan had an invest in the best
No, never saw
program.
that.
Okay, so there's a potential there for $12,000 a year. Yeah, you can make up to $12,000 a year if you hit all the criterias and you have all your ASEs. There's tiers to this.
Right.
So as long as you're a master and you hit everything, you got the number of years in there, you have a potential to make 12 grand on top from the manufacturer. But yeah, I lost some money off of that, and I was not upset. I told that parts guy, I was like, dude, you messed with me. You messed with me.
Hmm.
Don't sell a customer an open baggie. I was like, fuck, dude.
It's the same. It's the same no fluff as like CSI because you can fix the car, but if it doesn't get washed the way they like when they come to pick it up, they'll trash the
Mhm.
survey. If the coffee in the waiting room was empty when the
Amenities.
car got
Oh my
fixed, they
god.
trashed the survey. And I'm like, I've had that argument for years. That should have zero bearing on anything.
Yep.
Nothing at all. It's especially to the technician standpoint. It's one thing. Yeah, if they want to come and complain to the advisor about the coffee being crappy, complain to the advisor about the coffee being crappy. But it shouldn't even. I don't like. I don't. I'm not allowed to go out there and drink that coffee. Like, what do I care if you can't? Like, if you don't like it, it's
Yeah.
not. We're on different sides of the world here. It doesn't. It
Yep.
shouldn't affect me at all. I fixed your car, and that's the whole thing of like for me. When I think about going back to a dealership, it's like there's pluses, man. Like there's some good tooling, and you learn one brand, but I don't want to deal with that nonsense of CSI or any of that because I don't buy into it. I don't buy into it. I don't want the
Yeah.
politics. I don't want the rigged game. I don't want them to say, oh, well, our CSI, if we hit this, the dealership gets a bonus. I know what it's about. It's about they can get a big check at the end of the year, and then they don't have to, like, that's just free money to them. That's how they always look at it. It's free money. It's not free money. You have to change your whole culture about how you do the business in the dealership, how aggressive you are with sales in order to keep that CSI high. And it's the same thing. The dealer I was at in Nissan, at one point they had the highest CSI in Canada. Nobody was making a lot of money. And then they came in and said, let's make a little bit more money. So they get a little more aggressive in their sales. CSI goes in the toilet. Nothing changed in the sense of the ability of the technician or the way the cars were getting fixed. It was all in the demeanor of how the customer suddenly felt like they were being treated.
Yeah.
So they're trying to go, we want to get that back to that because we want to get that $100,000 check for a CSI score average or whatever. Man, give up on that. Learn how to make the 100 grand extra
Yep.
in your sales, and then you're not relying on Nissan to decide through a rigged game that we're going to give you $100,000.
Yeah.
But they look at it as like, we can make the 100,000 and get the bonus. No, you can't. It completely changes how I have to act as a technician if I'm so worried about CSI. So worried about it. I'll tell you right now, when I was flying, I didn't give a shit. Did not give a crap. It didn't matter if it had 5 miles on it or 500,000 miles. I was going to do the job the same way. I just knew that if it was under warranty, it was paying me less. But I
Yep.
did the job the same way. But they look at it as like, oh, it's CSI. You got no. Then you know what? Let's pay me more to work on CSI. Oh, we're not going to do that. Well, then let's just stop the nonsense. That's the whole double standard, double speak in the dealership thing with the warranty. It just drives me nuts. I'm so happy I see the guys now that are talking about they're not getting paid warranty time anymore. They're getting paid book time, even when the car's under warranty in certain states, right? They got that pass that's Lana.
I was gonna
I
say
love
about
that.
New
Love
York
that.
just passed that back in September.
Love it.
Why is
Good.
that not a standard in the industry? To get stuff approved, like this is what people need to understand. Okay, a dealership is a franchise that they have the ability to wear the brand name.
Mhm.
Okay, we don't work for, we work with the brand. So when we have to call in stuff, we have to do all this paperwork on the warranty to get your transmission approved. They don't understand that there's about 2 hours to get recordings and symptoms, and you got to record and send videos and upload it and get in contact, fill out a form online just to get a transmission
Yeah.
replaced. Hell, even batteries now.
Oh,
They have to approve the battery. You have
yeah.
to take a picture of the slip, send in an email, take a picture of the battery, and then wait for a computer to tell you, yes, you're okay to replace it. That adds time. They want you to charge it,
Oh, yeah.
run all these tests, and you're like, dude, it needs a freaking battery. And it's just
Yeah. Why is?
so many more steps than telling the customer, you need a battery, do you want it, yes or no?
Mhm.
You know, point 4 to replace a battery. Under warranty, point 3 to replace the battery. How the hell am I spending 30, 45 more minutes
Yeah,
trying to get this battery approved and I'm getting paid less?
that's right. I that's I've told the story that the battery was what cost me my last dealer job because when they said they wanted 3 slips printed off, I had 2, and I told them to go f their hat on the
Yeah.
third one because I wasn't going back through it again, and it was just like nope. And they were like, you can't tell the service writer tower person. I just did, like, it wasn't my best moment, but it was like it was a car that had been it had sat on a lot 9 months before they sold it to the guy. The guy bought the car, then he proceeded to drive the car home, park it, and he took the bus everywhere he went. And he would go out once a month and go to use the car, and the battery was dead. So the first time he came in, you put it on the Midtronics, and Midtronics says, charge and retest. Well, we all know most of the time when the stupid thing says charge and retest, it's going to need one. But of course, you can't get a failed slip and an approval to put a battery in.
Yep.
So charge the thing back up, give it to the customer back. Tell the advisor, you gotta tell this guy to use this car, just like the salesmen are told. If you leave the IOD fuse in, or the radio fuse for Nissan world, I'm going back to my Chrysler talk. You got to drive the damn things around the lot once in a while. Put some gas in it to charge the stupid thing back up. Nobody
Yep.
does that because salesmen won't do it. So he comes back a month later. It's gone 9 kilometers. It's 9 kilometers from the dealership to his place of residence. It's gone 9 kilometers. Back a month later, dead battery again. Same thing. Got a booster from the tow truck. He drove it in. This time, like, why don't you put a battery in a car? Because I can't get a failed slip. So we go into the parts room where all the cores are, right? You know this game. You should know this game. Don't admit to if it's going to incriminate you, but this is the game I played. I
I
went
know
to
about it.
I went to the cores and I printed one, and I got 2 slips that said the battery's bad. There you go, back from the 2 slips, get the battery, put it in the guy's car, give it to him, whole thing. Excuse me, Mr. Jeff, you're going to need a 3rd slip. Like, I'm going to need a 3rd. Fuck you, I'm not getting in. That was my final day. So the battery thing for me is a complete joke.
But see,
Because like
that was your breaking point.
that was my breaking point. Yeah, for
That was your
sure.
breaking point. That was a buildup of a lot.
Oh yeah, it was a buildup of like none of us were hitting 40, right? They were, yeah, none of us were hitting hours. It was, oh, we just got a brand new 100 alignment machine here, new rack, the whole thing. You know, it's going to be able to do your alignments a lot faster. Don't worry though, we're going to cut the time on the alignments. Do we cut the price to the customer? Oh no.
They raised
Oh,
the price. They raised the price.
oh, so we paid for the friggin' machine, asshole. Like that, and that's just the way I am, right? Like I'm wired that way, where it's just like I'm blunt and right to the point, just truthful.
Yeah.
I don't, I see it. I see black and white, and I see the truth. I don't, you're not gonna snow me on it. Am I wrong sometimes? Sure, but it's like I'm fed up with that, and that's the whole thing with the dealership thing. I'm. It doesn't even have to be the dealership thing. It can be anywhere where they look at me. It's just like my rant that I had the other day. Last Sunday, I recorded it, got released on Wednesday. The whole production thing is so not a telling indicator of what a technician's true ability is their production. It's such a misused, misread representation. We shouldn't even be using it anymore. It's got to start with level of competency, a level of certification. It's got to go there. Yes, there's some hours that have to show that like they're hustling. But man, there's so much more than that. As soon as you bring Diag work into it, throw the fucking production number as a
Yep.
out the window, because there's nothing written in the book time. And that's the thing. Going back to the guys in New York State that get their warranty time covered at retail work, that's great from a component re standpoint. If you're still spending time to diagnose the problem and the OEs are not paying Diag time, like GM and Ford are known to not pay hardly anything, then it's not going to change. CSI is not going to fix itself
Yeah.
with these customers being happy, because if you're not going to invest in me to figure out the problem, I'm going to throw a dart at the problem and see what sticks to the wall. I'm going to go with the most likely failed pattern failure, and I'm going to put that in the car. I will not give you time to tell you what is wrong with it if you're not going to pay me for that time. I will not do it. Will not
Yeah.
donate. Doesn't matter. That customer is no friend of mine. That customer is not my customer. That customer is everybody's customer. The service advisor, guy like Chris Craig, got paid something to interact with Mrs. Smith. Just as soon as we go to the other side of the service department door, and all of a sudden now I'm on straight incentivized flat rate, no nothing. If I have to figure out what's wrong and you don't want to pay for that, I ain't figuring shit. It's just the way I am.
Yeah.
I think
I
more
get
of
it,
us
man.
need to get there.
Yep.
I think it's proof of why. Like, how many young people are coming and trying to get into your dealership, Fluff?
As far as I know, few. It's not as much as it used to be.
Mhm.
Now it is. I'll say this: it's hard to hire a good technician.
There's
More
hardly any of them.
bodies than anything. So getting a good technician in the door, they're out there. then at the same time, the good technicians don't want to work they don't want to work for somebody anymore. And that's
Well,
a sad reality.
what makes a good technician, Fluff?
For me, Diag, being able to look at something and know how to take it apart, putting it back together properly,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it doesn't take much to be a good tech. Just understand what you're doing and don't freaking how do you say it? Don't butcher the damn car to get something done.
Yeah.
You know, I am hard to please in the dealership. I get it, but that's because of the, I guess you'll say, the pride I have,
Mm-hmm.
because I can be real meticulous on certain things and very cautious on others,
Right.
but I will not damage a customer's vehicle for the sake of me feeling like it's going to come back on me, you know? And I hate seeing that type of work get done too. Man, oh, boy, I'm trying to do it quick. Well, dude, no, because if you quit and it comes back and I get it and I'm not going to get paid for your fuck up, I'm going to be pissed.
But see, Fluff, that's where I've seen it. Where the dealership, when you have to go in behind a fellow tech and he don't work there anymore, or he or she's not there that day,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, and you sit there and you go, wait a minute, this isn't my comeback. This is, we just need to make it right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll pay you whatever it takes to make it right. Like this has gone way up the ladder now. This is a big deal. Like, why wasn't that money there in the first place? There's always that damage control money. That's like the saying goes, there's never enough time to do it right the first time, but there's always enough time to do it the second time.
Yeah.
Why why do we just not do it right the first time with the right amount of money? Because it's greed. It's greed. It's somebody says if I do it in this level, the margin's this. Cool. Great. We're not always doing things that are so contrived to be exactly repeatable. We are
Mm.
in there trying to solve a problem, right? We're trying to find that noise, trying to, like your bumper bracket situation. There's no time for that. There's
Yeah.
no time for that. It's just whatever it takes, whatever the process is. And if there's no friggin' leadership to teach these people the process, guess what? It's just fly by the seat. And that's what everybody's doing. And that's what you've all agreed to. That's what you're going to pay for. Fly by the
Do
seat.
independent shops run like that
No, because
as
as
far as
soon as you.
comebacks?
Oh, we just opened, clicked. You hear that can of worms open? So here's how it goes. Warranty and a comeback is a different thing because it's always like, well, maybe we can charge Nissan to look at it again. Maybe we can make a claim, make something up. As soon as it's in the independent and you start telling the customer, listen, you're paying every time we're looking at this, it's amazing what those motherfuckers are learned to live with, right? It's like squeaks and rattles and water leaks and shit never get fixed when it's out of warranty. I've seen so many sunroofs with duct tape over them because, like, it ain't paying to fix a sunroof,
Yeah.
right? But it's like, or a wind noise or something like that. Like that, the only time the wind noise might get fixed is if it was in a body shop and it went through their insurance and it was supposed to be pristine, and when it was out, they had a wind noise. That'll go back to the body shop and they'll fix it. When you are in the independent side and the customer is responsible for the repair cost, they will live with a lot of things. Now you still have to get it right, right? If you go and cannon the parts at it and you don't fix it, and the problem's still there, you're 101 as an example, you owe them their fucking money back,
Yeah.
right? But if you sit there and say, let's talk about a Rogue, for instance. I got this clunking noise in the front end. Now we know the Rogues were bad for struts and mounts and the whole thing. Like you've seen it. You put the Rogue in the hoist, and you go put it down. You drive it around the block. It clunks because the shock's shot. It's shit. The strut's shit. If I have a Rogue in and I'm looking for a noise and I've got ball joints that are falling out of it, and I sell you ball joints, and then I go around the block and all of a sudden now it's clunking from the strut and it didn't before. That's not a comeback. I took care of the safety related stuff, the stuff that's
Yeah.
going to keep the wheels pointed where they're supposed to go. If I don't have a problem with saying to the customer, listen, unfortunately this sucks, but this is, they all do that. You can show them, like, this is where documentation and being able to be confident with your communication to customers, like, listen, I can show you how many sets of struts we've done on this model in the last 6 months, it'd blow your mind. It's very common. We took care of the safety thing. When you tell the customer, oh, that's a strut noise, and it ends up being a sway bar link, then you gotta have to, how do I say it? If you're gonna load the cannon, you gotta load with a small caliber round to start on
Yeah.
the independent side of it. That's how you have to go. It's like that 101. I'm gonna tell that customer every time, unless I can grab another one out of another car and put it in and prove it on the test drive that it's the math,
Yeah.
I'm going to recommend you get your software fixed every time first. Every time. If I can't
Yep.
fix your software for you, I'm going to collect your diagnostic for that. I'm going to show you the TSB. Might have to go to the dealer to get a software done. And then that's it. So it's a different thing. As soon as they're paying, people learn to live with a lot more stuff. That's why I find in the aftermarket, for me, Fluff, the customers have been so much more appreciative. The entitlement that people in the dealer when it's under warranty have turns my stomach. They just think that they can walk all over everybody, treat them like shit because they have a warranty. Listen, I didn't sell you that car. I didn't build that car. You're not my friend.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to treat me like that. And that's why I'm not a good fit for that environment anymore.
And how long were you in the dealer world?
It's been the first time I ever worked in one was like 2003, and that was Chrysler. And I did a stint at Hyundai. I've done a stint at Nissan.
Mm.
So I've done 3 different Chrysler dealers, and then 1 Nissan dealer and 1 Hyundai dealer. And the Nissan dealer changed owners while I was there, and that
Oh.
went from being yeah, that went from being a really bad situation. It was a second generation dealership owner who had a lot of really out there ideas. They had an oil change for life promo. They had everything was going to be for life promo. And what it trained every local, penny pincher in my local area to come buy a Nissan because oil changes were free. Maintenance was free.
Yeah.
He didn't tell everybody that the fine print said you got to do all your maintenance for your oil change to be free. So we had customers coming in. It was just like, I'm here for my free oil change. Okay, well, you're supposed to flush your brake fluid at 20,000, miles and a brake service. Nah, I'm just here for the oil change. And then they would pull that and they would say, okay, your oil changes aren't free anymore. The customer go, what? I paid for this program when I bought this car. This is what. Okay, well, what do I need to do to get my oil change for free? We got to buy an air filter. Shit, that's all I got to do is buy an air filter. Yeah. How much an air filter? $18. What's it pay the technician to put the fucking air filter in? 0. So now every time they were coming in, Fluff, there was an oil change and an air filter.
Hmm.
And you took the air filter out that you just put in 3 months ago, chuck her in the trash, stuff another Nissan air filter in. That's how the
No
program.
way.
Bro, if I'm lying,
You,
I'm dying. I'm telling you the God.
was that like a prior? Okay, we had a deal called prior '08 oil changes. Right. So any vehicle that rolled into the shop that was purchased before 2008 got a free oil change.
Ooh.
That lasted for about 7-8 years. So that was set under a different service manager.
Mhm.
So the service manager that I have, he came in a year after that.
Right.
Well, it took him a while to realize, you know what?
That ain't making me
These
no
people
money.
just keep coming in for their free oil changes and they ain't buying nothing.
Of course
So he
they are.
stopped it. He
Yeah.
stopped it in like 2016, 2017, I want to say. So it lasted about 10 years. Oh, them customers. Oh, when they found out they don't get their free oil change no more, you don't see them no more.
That's right. And I can understand the marketing to that in
Mm-hmm.
a way because you want to get those cars that are out of warranty into your dealership to try and sell.
Correct.
You got to realize if that's a 10-year-old car, most people driving a 10-year-old car are not a dealership customer from just the cost alone of a door rate versus what they can get it done. They can go down to somewhere and still find an $80 an hour door rate and get their struts and their front end and their tires done, right? Their brakes and all that stuff. They don't want to pay $130 at the dealer when they can get it for 80 at wherever. My situation was like that program ran the dealer right into the ground. And then a local dealer group came and bought that Nissan dealer, and he was a Ford dealer owner, and he completely changed the methodology of the dealership for, I guess, maybe for the better. He turned over the whole dealership anyway. Every service technician that was there when I was there, within 2 years, was gone. Because he came in and talked about, oh, you're going to make a ton of money. No. He was all about selling cars. He was high on sales of cars. Didn't give a flip. He wanted to build the fastest drive-through oil change bay in the thing, so that they could start to evaluate cars right on the thing. He had salesmen set up on podiums right at the end of the drive-through. This was his dream. So that when the customer came in and looked at the mileage, and somebody underneath did a real quick inspection and an oil change, he was ready to start selling them. Like, oh, you got 80,000 K on your Nissan? We can get you a trade-in value of this right now today and get you into a new one. And I am in the service department, and I'm thinking, are you
I
smoking something?
hate that.
But dude, that's what it all depends on who you're working for, what their mentality is. Do you want to make a ton of money in service, or do you want to make a ton of money selling cars?
And you know what? I don't know if this is true or not, but where I'm at, we're told that the service department holds up the entire dealership
Every dealership in the world is that way.
because we sell
Maybe not on the
labor.
high end. Like, I'm not talking
Yeah,
a Bugatti or something like
yeah.
that, but yes, every dealer in the
Because we
world.
don't sell a product, we sell a service, 100% profit service.
Hmm,
So it's not like you sell a part, you got to mark it up, however much, and you make $100 off of a $300 or $400 part that they buy versus charging $200 an hour, and the technician gets 25 to 30, and then so and the service department pays for your cashiers and your porters and all that
for
stuff that
sure.
keeps the
Yeah,
light on.
yeah.
So all that other overhead that people don't realize.
But
But I
that's the beauty of it, though,
and
right?
salesmen are held to a freaking like their salesmen are the shit.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know, you know
in
what I
their
mean.
eyes, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. A lot of
it's
them that
like
I worked with are just a bunch of coked out kids that like to play golf. Like, that's what I
they
worked with, a
get
lot of
taken
them.
on trips and
Oh yeah.
do this and like, dude, what the fuck? And we're back here busting our ass.
But then, Fluff, if salesmen are so great, why is it that Hyundai or Kia now are going to sell their cars on Amazon? Because
Oh,
they
I
don't
was
need
not aware of that.
you don't need salesmen to sell cars. I can sell cars with a kiosk. Carvana
Yeah. Oh
prove
my
that you can sell cars from a vending machine. And
god. Yeah, that's
everybody,
crazy.
I said that 10 years ago and everybody thought I was nuts. You can't, they don't need it. Now with the internet, people can literally go in, pick the color, what they want, drive over to the dealership if it's in stock, and drive away with it. I don't need to be sold the car. I need you to provide me the car. I've already decided that's the fucking car I want because I read
Yeah.
100 Google reviews on it, and you have the color I want, and it's like, I just like it. It's like, how do we sell Jeep Wranglers to so many people that don't like really shouldn't have a Jeep Wrangler? It's because they decide that they want a Jeep Wrangler.
Yep.
I had a toy when I was a kid that was a Wrangler. I watched Daisy Duke on Dukes of Hazzard. Like, Barbie had a Jeep. You name it. Like, I want a Jeep. And then they get in and they're like, what the F? And it's like, yeah, it isn't your RAV4, man. It's like, it's a fucking Wrangler. Like, it's a different thing. Oh, I don't like
Hmm.
this. Okay. You don't need a salesman anymore.
You
100%.
don't.
And you
You
don't need
don't.
a service advisor because I'll tell you, we experimented with a kiosk, and that kiosk, and there's bigger dealerships, Fluff, all over the nation right now that are doing this, and they're proving that the kiosk, because you limit the amount of time that the customer will stand there, you limit the amount of interaction that actually happens, and it's just, you're just here for, okay, Mrs. Smith's here keyed in. Yeah, thanks for showing up for your appointment today. Blah 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 blah. Okay, so you're here for your service. All right, at 50,000 miles, we recommend X, Y, and Z. Are you interested in doing that? And she's gonna go yes or no. Click. Like, we don't give her options to discuss other things that she's here to maybe complain about or be unhappy about. We're just treating them like cattle, man, putting them through. and
Yeah,
it works. I don't like it, but Chris Craig, this guy's doing an amazing thing of trying to change it. And I love it. He's got a book out and everything. But man, like the dealerships have figured out now, if we're going to eliminate that position, we'll eliminate it. We'll eliminate the sales positions. The last people that will be standing fluff at the dealerships will be the mechanics, 100%.
I
So that's
believe
something to
that.
think about.
That's
That's
if
something.
you can keep the not so much phasing out the technician job, but keeping them there,
Yeah.
keeping them
Well, sure.
satisfied to where they're not gonna walk.
Well, they say, Fluff, we're going to have a bunch of AI learning, and AI is going to. Who has it now? Somebody saw it, and it's like, it might have been Mercedes or one of the high end things. You put essentially a set of Meta glasses on, and then you have the tablet, and it walks you through like you're going over to the car, and it's showing you through the glasses on the thing, like how to do all that, how to remove that component, how to check this. Like your service information is playing on the screen in your Meta glasses, showing you where that connector is going to be. Go to there, go to that pin. Like it, that's going to be the way it's going to be, 100%. Still a person wearing the glasses doing the work. Whereas that car was booked in all through AI at a call center that ain't even on the property. So people that think they're going to be a salesman or you're going to be a service advisor, you better start looking at your aftermarket options to go out there and work in the aftermarket, because the dealerships, I 100%, I promise you, are trying to phase you out as we speak.
That is crazy. And I seen something about that, but I wasn't too sure if that was true about
Yeah.
the whole asking AI, you know. But I saw that more through the phone where they take a picture and then they Google it and the AI does its thing and leads them in a
AI
direction.
AI is getting better and better. I saw it in one of our talk groups on Facebook, and somebody was talking about. They said a car's got a misfire. They punched it through AI, and AI actually had a pretty good process of how you would start to eliminate causes of the misfire. Like it's learning all the time, right? Skynet
That's
is here, people.
that is crazy.
So, would you ever leave the dealership, Fluff? Like, would you
I
ever go
can't
to an
say
independent?
right now. I don't know what it would take for me to leave. Like I get so comfortable where I'm at. I hate
Mhm.
change.
Right.
So I could be so upset at something that's going on and get bent over so many times. I'm just going like you said, I'm going to take it in the chin, you know. But there's a breaking point. Everybody has a breaking point. I'm not there yet. But I know if I do, I'm probably going on my own, cuz I'm the type where, if it didn't work out there, I don't want to do it again.
Hmm.
You know, so being employed by somebody else and having to answer to somebody else, I don't want to do it. And
So
that's why I feel like having social media is good too, because I could gain customers through there. You know,
you're not worried.
we'll see how that goes.
You're not worried at all about if you walk out of the dealer about fixing other brands. You're not stressed about that at all.
Yes,
Okay.
just because I don't have all the resources at my fingertips.
Are you familiar with? You've probably seen Chris Enright, Enright Auto,
And right auto
on TikTok and
on YouTube,
on YouTube. Okay.
I've tried to communicate with him. I don't know if he thought I was just some troll or something. I had made a comment about advisors, and then he like snapped back, and I was like, "Yo, like, whoa, hold on, like, I don't, we got about the same amount of subscribers, brother. I don't know what but ever since that, I was like, you know, I watch his
he
videos, but
he's got it figured out, because what he has done is he's built himself a business on the independent side where he specializes in Honda, because
mhm.
he's a Honda trained, Honda master certified, or he never got master certified. That's the one he said he wasn't going to do, because he watched the guys with master certification make less money because they got all the nightmare
Ooh,
cars.
that's a big one.
Yeah, but like, so he set his own business up now, where he caters to the Honda owners in his area. His marketing is set up perfect to get like a lot of them in. He buys all the Honda, almost everything he installs is a Honda OE part, Honda OE tooling. Um, he's just figured it out. So it can work. That's what I'm trying to get to, is like,
Yeah,
if you have a large percentage of Nissans in your area and you wanted to get into that, you can make it work. You
yeah.
really can. You know,
See, one of the guys that I seen become a master, and within a couple years, he went out and did his own thing. Now he has his own shop where he opened it as a Nissan certified master technician, right?
hmm
Mastered in Nissan, to market to the Nissan people. And he said that, it was hard in the beginning, but now he works on everything. You
yeah,
start testing your waters, and then, you start hiring other people to where they come from a different
yes,
manufacturer or an independent. So now, I guess he's just gotten comfortable with everything.
yeah,
But
and that's the trick. That's the trick,
that was
100%.
one man. I hadn't seen him in like 5 years, and I went to go give him a hand on something, right? And I seen in him, I was like, this dude aged. Holy crap! I'm like, dude, are you all right? Yeah, Flo, it's a lot.
Yeah,
The first couple years were hard. I'm like, I see it. I could tell. That kind of, I was like, oh, that was an eye opener. I'm like, man, and I want to open up my own shop. It's a little scary,
I've
but
talked to lots of technicians though that became shop owners that tell you that, like we were talking before we started recording, some of them don't make a penny more than what they would have as an employee for somebody
hmm
else. 100%. And yes, it comes with a big stress level. And that's the thing. You'll talk to some of the coaches and they're like, listen, it ain't worth it. Don't do it. Some of them just take solace in the fact that I didn't make any more money, but I called all the shots. If I wanted to shut down Friday at lunch, or I didn't even want to come in on Friday, I just didn't. And it was all on me. Nobody forced me to, you know. And so it's not just about the money. Like you said, sometimes I can't be there at 8 in the morning, right? I can only be there at 9 because I have something to do with my kids. I only open my shop now at 9, you know, and but I'm there until 6 instead of at 5. You can do anything, you put your mind to in this industry. If you're talented and you're good with people, you can be a success in this industry. 100%. I know this to be a fact because
yeah,
I've seen people do it. It just like you have to, if you're going to go out there and do your own business thing. I tell everybody, first thing you do is start to network with people that are better than you. Don't
mm,
ever be the smartest guy in the room from a standpoint of the business side. Surround yourself with people that are way smarter than you, way more successful, because they'll show you, they'll lay the groundwork. When you go to these events, Fluff, they'll sit there and they'll sit you down, you'll have a beer, and they'll tell you how they did it, right to the dollars and cents of what
dude, and that's
somebody
not
got.
just automotive. That is life in general.
But in
That is,
automotive, there's so much of like people just doing the same thing over and over again, the cycles.
hmm
That's what drives me nuts. Is it's just like you see so many start and fail, or not fail, but they're not really successful from the standpoint of like when they were done, they had something that was worth something to either pass on or sell. There was
yeah,
no succession because it wasn't really like they had a bunch of customers that nobody else wanted, and the tools weren't worth shit when it was done. And what are you left with? Nothing. You got maybe your retirement paid for, which is not a small thing. I'm not trying to say that it isn't. But you could have stayed as an employee for somebody that had pension benefits and you'd be just in the same spot.
yeah,
So, you know, the people that network with the shop owners that have been successful and have learned how to do this, that's what I tell everybody when you're starting out, start to network as soon as possible. If you're a technician, start to network with everybody as soon as possible. Like I said, this has been, like we were talking, the internet has been absolutely fundamental for my abilities to fix cars and still be in this industry. If it
yeah.
wasn't for YouTube and social media, I wouldn't be doing it. Not even close. Doing something else.
Really.
Hell yeah. Fuck
See, and
yeah.
I only started looking into social media about 4, maybe 5 years ago.
Yeah, no. I'm an
Because I
old
mean,
timer
I'm
on it
I'm
now.
still fairly new to all this stuff. But I've seen, what is his name, Eric, the car guy.
Yeah,
Like I used to see some of his videos pop up, but I was like more into like the vlogging style car channels and fixing up
right.
your cars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then that's where it clicked on me. I'm like, yo, wait, hold on. These guys are getting all these subscribers, all this, views and this and that. of just simply talking about their car, taking it to a mechanic, filming the mechanic for a little bit, and then, oh my God, right? I'm like, yo, I'm the mechanic.
That's
Let
right.
me do this. And like, I had always wanted to do YouTube. I used to, back when YouTube was brand new, doing parodies and funny skits and stuff like that. And I was like, you know what? I've always wanted to do this. I have a niche. I feel like I'm pretty good at what I do. And I have the confidence to do it. So let me fire it up. And then so now, I hated independent shops. I couldn't stand them
Really?
until I got on social media. And I started interacting with good guys,
Yeah.
smart guys from independent shops. And I'm like, yo, these guys are fucking like, what?
Next level.
Yes. Like the independent, I mean, the dealers don't even talk about stuff like this. Oh man. So I will say definitely social media has opened up my eyes to being a mechanic as a whole,
Hmm.
not just a dealer technician thinking, oh, if I can't fix it, nobody else can. Because surely there's somebody who came from somewhere that can get it done, you know? And they,
Social media was paramount for me because it was like, from the moment I had a Facebook account, I started to want to talk to other mechanics
mm,
through Facebook group, because it was just like, and it starts on a very organic, natural thing of like, hey, I got this car that, can somebody help me? How would they approach this diagnostic problem? And then
yeah,
it just spiraled into discussing the politics of life of the dealer, and then politics of, because you'd see it, people talk about dealer technicians like they're dealerships, like we went right where we started here,
yep,
or and then it was like, I'm like, bitch, I've been at the dealer and seen these cars come from independent shops that are just like, it's terrible how far off the mark they were on their Diag. Nobody's going to disrespect me as a
yeah,
dealership technician. And then it went the other way where it's like, oh, it has to go back to the dealer. I have to talk to a dealer guy to be able to diagnose my car. No, you don't. You just have to talk to somebody of competence. And that's
yeah,
where a lot of my competence came from, was being able to network. People set me up with like Scanner Danner and Eric the Car Guy and all these other people on YouTube that I started to learn from. Because I wasn't working with a ton of employers throughout my career that have always seen training as being like such a priority. No.
yeah,
Even the dealership, you know what the dealership training is like. If you got your fundamentals down, it's kind of on what did we change about the Rogue in 2024 versus 2019. This is the changes. It's not really like a whole lot of how to become a better technician. It's just knowing the product better.
yeah,
And to be a constantly evolving, better technician, constantly improving, you have to improve your skills, not know what makes the car different. You want to
yep,
improve your skills, and then you fix them all the same fucking way. It don't matter what makes them different. Your process will flesh out what's wrong with the car. That's what is important. So that's where I never had a great love for the OE training, and I got all my training on YouTube, all of it.
dude. Like in a monetization standpoint, right? So when you sell a tune-up on a Nissan, spark plugs, right? From not an independent guy, from a Mopar guy, right? He would say with a tune-up, he sells PCV valve, PCV hose, and a flash update if it's available.
Yeah,
Oh shit! Okay, well, you know what? A 1 hour standard program. We'll throw a couple tenths in there for a PCV valve. You're making a little money, more money there. So me versus doing the flash updates, because we don't really see that many on Nissan unless it's a PO 101, right? So if I go to sell a tune-up, guess what I'm selling with it now?
software
PCV
update.
valve, PCV valve, and a throttle clean with an idle relearn.
Mm-hmm.
I'm throwing another half hour in there. You by watching multiple people, you start to realize, oh, you know what? Maybe I'm not doing enough for this particular job. Let me give the customer more. Yeah, it's gonna make me more money, but they're getting more done to their vehicle as far as preventative maintenance and stuff like that.
Yeah. And
Oh man.
it's just that CYA factor that cover your ass because
Yeah,
it's
that
like,
too.
how many times do you do a tune up on a car and then the customer comes back all of a sudden really, really tuned into like every little thing with the way it idles or whatever, right? Like,
Yeah.
all the time. So I would do, so the way it would work for us a lot of the time is like if it had, I don't know, pushing 60,000 miles, and this is back when it had copper plugs still in it. We do a tune up, and we do a fuel system cleaning, which was an injector flush through the rail, clean the throttle body out, and do the plugs. And sometimes you do the wires if it was an older 3.8 Caravan, whatever. You did the
Yeah.
ignition wires too. That job paid you 4 hours. And I mean, I'd whip them off in well under an hour and a half by the time. It took me longer to wait for the injector clean to run than to get the rest of it done.
Yeah.
And so what I would often do at the same time, I just load the most current software into the ECM and flash it while I was doing that. Just because to cover
While
all the other
while you were
little,
doing the tune up, right?
yeah. Because that way, if it had that little idle sag when they turn the AC on certain times or something like that, that
Yeah.
all of a sudden it just avoided that. Just got it done out of the way, because I would have countless cars that somebody else did a tune up, and what it was here for was the idle sag. And then I got to go and do the software flash that only paid like 0.6, and they got the tune up and the fuel system cleaning that didn't address the problem.
And that goes back to also, I've found also that sag, and it's even happened on my own vehicle, to where AC compressor kicks on, puts a little bit of load, and the RPMs drop, and it
Yeah,
wants to stumble. Fucking throttle body's dirty. Like, I don't think people realize how important
yeah.
it is to clean that throttle body.
But they don't want to pay for it because it's like, or somebody runs it through a hose in the side of the snorkel and tells them that it's the same. And
Mhm.
is it doing something? Yes. But I remember when the idle air control motor was still in the side of the throttle body on a Chrysler or a lot of the other cars. You clean that blade all you want, but where it really mattered was that you got the pintle in that passageway clean. That's what
Yeah.
really mattered. And yet, so I would see guys take that throttle body off all the time, clean that blade. Cool. Yeah, you're doing something there. And they'd leave that idle air control motor in. And I'd pull that idle air control motor out, and there'd be all kinds of chunks on the end of the pintle. It was dirty. And here I go cleaning that for the idle sag. Just little details like that. Again, you get an hour to do the throttle body clean. Clean the fucking throttle body. Do it properly.
Yeah.
you know? And we're talking way back in the day, Fluff, where you didn't really have to do a reset. Like, Nissans were the worst I saw for after you cleaned it, trying to get the thing. You've seen them. Have you had them where you had to like pull the spark plug wires off to get the RPM down low enough that they'll relearn? You done
Uh.
that before?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Ain't that
The
some stupid shit?
now we get this thing where it'll do a bouncing,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you're like, it won't start relearning until you're under
No.
1,000. So what I do to get rid of that is I'll fucking put it in gear while it's
Yeah.
trying to learn. Bring the RPM down a little bit. Once it's satisfied, then throw it back in park and let it finish off.
I still remember the first time the old tech down the bay watched this, and he starts unplugging coils and he gets the RPM to drop down enough. And I'm like, but it worked. He's like, oh
Yep.
yeah, sometimes you just got to do that. So it was like some of us hated to have to clean the throttle body or whatever because it would be a bitch.
Yeah.
Whereas like the old stuff was like Chrysler's, it you turn the thing on and fucking it relearned in like 20 seconds. If it wouldn't relearn on a Chrysler, you had a bad battery. That was it all
Oh,
the time.
what?
Yeah,
Now
yeah.
there's a couple other tricks on these new vehicles that we got to do to keep it from stalling out. Basically we have to trick the MAF sensor and put it in a failsafe, and then you know connect the MAF sensor, cycle keys,
Yeah.
fucking click your toes to get your heels together, and get it to go through. But
I as I get to know you, man, I really think you and I come from similar places, similar thinking, similar like what really grinds you about this industry and the dealership thing. And I want you to think about, you know, what am I trying to say? If you think that you could go out in the aftermarket and be successful, I guarantee 100% you could.
Mm.
So if you have any kind of whatever,
Any
apprehension
doubt?
about, don't, because I interact with a lot of technicians. I see a lot of guys online, and you're certainly smart enough to make it a go. So if
Yeah.
you get frustrated with your situation, Fluff, don't think for a minute, man, that you can't be a success wherever you go, because you can 100%.
You know
I
what's
am
crazy?
living proof that like
You know what's crazy?
nobody,
My service directors told me that.
yeah, I am living proof that like nobody has to stay where they are. I'm not.
Yeah.
I move around more than probably most techs ever will, and most techs should. And it's just because I always will. I will not. I believe that I impact more change when I leave than when I stay. And
Yeah.
that's what people have to remember is like, if you want to make the industry better, you have to draw that line in the sand and say, this is my limit. And when people come up and they kick their toe on the sand, you can turn away, or you can put your toe back down and say, no,
Yeah.
this is it. This is it. And I believe that the industry right now is under a big change, because young people, they ain't picking this, and they ain't coming in, and the ones that come in, right, like they're different. It's hard for them to get up to speed on this, and everybody's floundering, going, oh, what am I going to do about techs? The techs that you got, treat them better, and you won't have to worry so hard about finding techs.
Yeah.
It'd be
Yeah.
so much simpler to take care of the people that you have. It's the same marketing for customers is the same damn thing. They'll tell you, take care of the customers you have, because it costs fucking thousands of dollars in marketing to get new ones.
Yes.
Technicians is the same thing. Take care of the ones you've got, so you
Yep.
don't have to fucking spend $5,000 signing bonuses to get a technician to come on to stay 13 months to leave.
Yeah. They ain't that crazy though. Now that you mentioned that about the sign-on bonuses, they stay, collect that money, and then they're out, or they
Good
collect
for them.
that few months guarantee, and then they're out.
And you
It's
know what
like,
I
man,
say? I say all the time, good on them if they do that. Because what that $5,000 meant is that's really what they can afford to pay you for the year. They just don't want to
mhm.
until. So, I'm never going to look at a guy that or a gal that left at 13 months and took that signing bonus and go and judge them. I'll be like, good on you, man.
Oh, technicians talk. They already know. The techs in the shop already know the guy's plan. And we're like, you know, hey man, that's your decision. You know, I
Any
can't blame you.
closing any closing thoughts, Fluffy, before we let you get back to your family?
No, not really. Just
No?
to the ones that watch this, appreciate y'all watching
Yeah.
through.
What nights are you going to try and go live again?
Man, Fridays. I'm gonna try to
Fridays.
hit it up Fridays. Get back on my 9 p.m. Central Time, because I really miss doing the live stream stuff
And that's on
over
YouTube.
on YouTube. So, like I
Okay.
said, anytime you want to come on, we're there. I'm trying to get some more guys to come in, because I've kind of held the same panel for about two years.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how well you know people on YouTube, but like I have a Mopar tech that he introduced me into the live stream stuff.
Okay.
His name's Online Mechanic Tips. He's
Oh,
a
I've seen him. Yeah.
big Chrysler guy.
Yeah, I've seen him.
Rainman Ray.
Yes, I know Rain Man.
I've gotten him on the channel.
Right on.
Bearded Ford Tech. He's
I
up
know
and
him.
coming.
Yeah, I know him.
Power Stroke Tech Talk. I've got some guys that I'm working with, and
Well,
I'm excited.
I'll definitely do my best. Like I said, sometimes I'm asleep by the
Yeah.
time.
Hey
Friday
man,
nights are.
I'll hit you up, and you know if
Yeah,
you catch a stream, come on,
yeah,
come
for
on.
sure. And
I'll,
I
I'll,
like I
I'll co- I usually cover a topic for about an hour, and then I start sending out invites, and then
okay.
after that, the conversations could get kind of crazy. We just go off the hip,
Yeah,
and
I like that.
you get a sense of how technicians interact with each other
Yeah.
and get along. So
Well,
it's good camaraderie.
that's what I've found with doing this, right? Is that it's been amazing how I can't honestly say I've ever had somebody that, like, when I came away from doing the conversation, doing the interview, doing the episode, that I didn't like them even more. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And have a respect for them even more, because we all know what we all do day to day. We fix cars, but it's like you get a real feel for the person's soul and their passion for it
Yeah.
when you
It's
sit down and
deeper
have
than
this
watching a 60-second video.
yeah, when you sit down and have a conversation.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And it's like, I'm not always about, like, I don't, I don't care if the customer understands better the process of what I'm doing to the car. I don't
Yeah.
care. But I want to help the other technicians know what I'm doing and why I'm doing it and how you get paid really good for doing it.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I don't want to see us have to go to work anymore and hope that we hit 20 hours this week. You know, I want us to go to work and it's like, man, I'm taking home six figures a year now because I'm, you know, smart and
Which
solving a
is
problem.
attainable. A lot of
Sure
people
it
don't
is.
think so, but
Sure.
it is. It is.
But I want it consistent and attainable.
There you
Not
go.
just like, I don't want it for a 4-year window before your body starts to break down, or all that good work that was coming in that you really knew the labor, like you knew all the shortcuts and shit, all that dry up and goes. It's like the CVTs, right? When they go out of warranty and all of a sudden they don't come in the shop no more.
Yeah.
If the brand gets better and they don't have that big ticket, you know, gravy ticket attached to it, you, you're not as worth as much to the employer.
Correct.
And that's what I want to see them have to realize. They have to value us, and that comes with money. And we have to hold ourselves to a really high standard and do good work. But man, they gotta know, like, we are, like you said a couple minutes ago, and the dealership, that department carries everybody, and with that means some respect on my name, right? No,
Yeah.
salesmen don't get all the perks. Put the respect on the technicians. So
Yep.
everybody, this has been a lot of fun. I was looking forward to getting this one done. And
Yeah. Oh yeah.
we'll have Fluffy back for sure in the future. And we're gonna have some other really interesting, some really cool standouts, people that you guys all know from social media are gonna be on. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. So Fluff, the spin a hoop, man. Thank you
Hey,
for being
thank you for
here.
having me, brother.
We'll have you back for sure, bud.
Oh yeah.
Love yous all. Talk to you soon.